Okay, so what we're going to do today is practice for our Project 3, and we're going to talk about light logic. If you're in drawing classes already, I'm sure you're talking about this right now, and it might be a repeat, but it's always good to do things over again. Okay, so when we're talking about light logic, we're talking about where the light source is coming in from. So the light source is coming in from here. This arrow is indicating that. This is the light side here. Obviously, this is the dark side. And then this side is the cast shadow. Remember that word. It's just casting a shadow onto the ground plane. So it's another shape. It's another part of your still life. So it's not your still life drawings and just images that you create in general in terms of composition are not only about the object, but they're also about the cast shadow. Where are those shadows being cast? Are they being cast on the ground? Is there possibly another object over here where this shadow is maybe behind it, this object is behind it and it's casting a shadow onto another form? But for right now, let's just talk about just a simple sphere that you guys are going to draw today and how to shade that in and how to deal with the variation of pencils that you have. Okay, so back to light logic. We've got the light source coming in here. You can see this is where the highlight is. And if you squint your eyes, you can basically break this up into 3 different value planes. One here, this is darker, this part here is darker as it's closest to the object, and then it becomes this kind of mid-tone again, all right? So much like how we dealt with our value scales here, we can think about what value might match on the sphere, okay? So probably my darkest value is right around here, and then also right around here. So this is the cast shadow, and then this is the form shadow. It's the shadow that's on the form. So that's pretty self-explanatory, right? They also call it a core shadow. So if you hear that, that's what that is. Sometimes I end up saying that too. So if the light's coming in from here, it's hitting the ground, and then, so it's hitting the ground, and then it's bouncing. Sometimes there's a reflective surface, and so it catches the light over here, and it bounces and hits over here to get a reflective light source. But notice that highlight is not so highlighted. It's a darker midtone, just like here. This is the highlight. This is lighter, but it's only much lighter because everything else is dark around it. Okay, so this is light logic. Light travels in a straight line. It doesn't curve around and go woo. It either is hitting the object or it's not. Okay, so just always take into account where's your light coming from. So here we've got the light bulb, and then that's the way the light is kind of showering over the sphere. Okay, so there's that. Now what we're going to do is we're basically going to copy this image and practice with our pencils. So much like how we did up here with, I used my H pencil and then my 2B pencil. Those were the 2 ones I did. And then I did discuss this in the last video, but just to repeat, HB is like your middle tone, and then B gets a little bit darker, the lead gets a bit softer. The higher it goes in number, the lead is softest at B, 9B, and it also means that's darker. H is for hard, and so the higher you go in numbers for H, all the way up to 9H, it gets really light and the lead gets harder. With the lead getting harder, which means the lead will also be a lighter value. Okay, so now that we have our image, you guys should it's on your screen while you're drawing. And I'm going to put this just up here for me to see. And then I did my outline here. Okay, so I've got my sphere and I've got my ball, and my light is coming in through here. Okay, so I reversed it by accident. But it doesn't matter. Still, the light source is coming in here, and then it's casting a shadow here. Now I need to decide where is my form shadow. And I'm just going to indicate that here. So this is going to be my form shadow here. This is my cast shadow, my highlights here. You could start with a softer pencil if you like, just to see what that does. I'm going to come in with my 2B pencil and start doing my shading, okay? So like I said, oh, actually this is really important. Notice how crisp the cast shadow is as it's closest to the object, and how dark it is when it's closest to the object, and as it moves away it gets softer and lighter, and then you can almost see like this little bit of shading around here, so it softens the edge. That's something to be aware of when you're drawing. You want to think about soft edges, hard edges, especially when you're dealing with shadow shapes. Okay, so back to drawing. I'll just I already marked that in. I'm not going to press super heavy. I am going to come in as light as I can, really, just like a nice even layer, just like how I did up here. And then I can build my values up from there. But if you come in super heavy-handed, you're going to end up with, what's it called? Like a shiny, reflective quality to it. So this is where the smooth transition comes in, because I'm going to be working from dark to light and having a smooth transition. It's not just going to cut off. This is a great exercise in being like, okay, this is a dark value. That's a little bit lighter than this dark value. And you see the difference. But here, this is what it's really all about, because that's what we end up doing when we're drawing. And that is my dog barking, if you can't hear her. Okay, so back to me drawing this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off just doing this, and then I'll speed it up. Again, I want to have access to this. So you should have this on your screen, or if that's annoying, you could always print out the image. It'll be under Modules, Project 3. And again, when you, oh, I don't think I talked about that. I didn't. I don't think I did. Okay, sorry, I'm interrupting myself so we can talk about sharpening our pencils. I want you guys to come in and do that, like I explained earlier in class today. But you need to have these to be a longer lead, okay? So you're kind of digging in and then kind of leveling out as you get towards the... So you guys should all have razor blades. If you don't, you want to get at least just one. You can get like a small little pack at like Home Depot, probably for pretty cheap. But you don't want to use an X-Acto blade. You want to use this because it's easier. You have your thumb. It's more controlled. Unless you're really adept to using the X-Acto, I recommend this. Okay, so that's the whole point of that. And then this is what it should end up looking like, right? And then you can use your sandpaper to then sharpen it further. Okay, so I have my 2B that I started out with. I've got my 4B, and I've got a 3B here. Okay, and these are all very nice long leads. I might actually lighten this up and see what happens if I come in with my 4B, but I come in really, really light. Do you see how soft that is? And how it is just inherently darker, and I'm not pressing very hard at all. I'm actually going as light as I possibly can. Well, not as light as I can, but a nice kind of less than medium pressure to my page. But do you also notice how it's kind of grainy? It's because the lead is softer, so it creates a grainy quality. And again, it's a matter of preference. So just to demonstrate really quickly over here. So I've got my 4B pencil and I just do this. And again, it's a matter of preference and what's the result you want. So I've got this shading here. It's real grainy. If I take my 2B pencil, let's use this one, and I do the same amount of pressure here, you can see how different the result is. It's a lighter value, it's a harder lead because it's a 2B, 4B is higher up on the scale. So you see how close together all that is, right? What I could do is, let's say I get this, back to my 4B, and let's say I want to get it darker. And again, don't come in super heavy-handed because you're going to end up with that reflective quality. It's going to, when it starts to hit light, it'll just be distracting. So if I shade in the other direction, it starts to get a little bit lighter. Come back around, do that again. Again, I'm not pressing really hard. I'm having patience with myself. And I'm layering. So you guys, I really want you to get used to the whole layering thing because a huge part of our next project is in pencil. And so we're learning the different characteristics of that pencil and what it does, what it can do, and how we can manipulate it. Okay, so it's still quite grainy, right? If I did this, like I did with the other one, you layer over and you get darker, but it's a different type of quality because it's less grainy, it's a harder lead, blah, blah, blah. Now, what if I take this harder lead and I draw over this? It'll probably tighten up all the grains and become more of a solid value. So again, I'm not pressing hard, but I am just slowly building up my value here. And again, I can change the direction here. And I'm not pressing super hard. I'm leaving this top half so you can see the difference between the two. Now, what if I took a harder lead than that and I brought out my H? What does that do? That's a really hard lead. And it just kind of makes it a little bit more solid. Hopefully you guys can see the difference there. I'm just going over this one area and I'm not pressing really hard. But you can see how this is becoming a bit more solid here. Right? That's solid. That's a little bit more grainy because I didn't put my HB on top of it. And then here is totally grainy. So those are things you might want to mess with before you get to your ball, your sphere. Okay. I'm going to do another video where my drawing is sped up and you can see the process that way.